Greetings and salutations. It is Friday, the 19th of February 2021. The world is still shit. I still have no fucks to give. You know what that means? It must be Freaky Friday.
Hi, I'm Kaz and welcome to Fluttermouse House. If it's your first time here, leave a like and subscribe. You don't want to miss what's next. And now, on with the show.
Well, hello! Greetings and salutations. Okay, so I've just made some notes. So what I'm going to quickly do is explain what I'm going to be doing tonight. I don't have a video because the video that I'm going to be talking about, I have actually just watched. Now, if you don't know about it, where have you been? But we have covered the Elisa Lam case and the Cecil Hotel. Made a video about that just myself a couple of weeks ago, and for years and years on YouTube. And now it's suddenly on Netflix. So we're going to talk about that. Let me do some greetings before we begin. So hello to Mad Kiwi, White Tiger Unplugged, Mrs. Roger Rabbit, Alicia Gallagher, Steven number 4, Laurie Beth, Dazed and Confused, Louis. Every time I say your name, Louis, sorry, just every time. Margie, hello. Who else is here? Let's have a look. Lip and Lizard. Sorry, I do apologize every time. Ivy Lynn, hello. April Sunset, hello, sweetheart. Hiya, Baxter. Hello, lovely to see you all. Hello, Melinda as well. Hiya, Loopy Lisa. Hiya, Keely. Hello, sweetheart. Good stuff. I just watched it. Hi, Kindness Cake. So what I'm going to do, Tiggs, White Tiger doesn't have membership yet because she needs a few more subs. So promote our channel. She deserves more subscribers. She's an amazing YouTuber. And now I'm going to talk about the Cecil. Right. So we've watched the Cecil Hotel for years on YouTube. Ever since the Elisa Lam case came out, we've been following it. And there are many YouTubers in the Netflix documentary. Now, I am going to be talking about it, so there may be some spoilers connected. So please be aware of that. I am of the belief that none of that will stop you from watching it. None of that would stop you enjoying it. But please do bear that in mind. Hi, Ilfa. So please do bear that in mind. And hi, Trish, before basically watching this. You may want to watch it first. I don't know. I'm leaving the choice up to you. Spoiler alert! Okay. So there's a few issues I want to pick up. We know that Elisa Lam was tragically found in 2013. On oddly the 19th of February, and it's sort of obviously, so it's the anniversary, and she was tragically found in a water tower naked on the roof of the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, a hotel on Skid Row that has a notorious history of its own that I've covered in previous videos, so I'm not going to get too much into that. It does have a reputation. I am very much of a mind that the Cecil is in a place where people are down on our luck. It's been a budget hotel / flop house for many years, where people who are down have little in the way of natural resources like money and things like that in their lives, and are just passing through. So it does have a history of suicide, crime, drug use. I won't get too much into that, though. It's all in the other video, all the weird stuff that accompanies this case. So hiya, April Sunset. So basically, when this documentary started, I was a bit worried that it was going to be all full of shit, much like many TV programs based on true crime. They are very over dramatized, they are exaggerated, and we get a lot of that content here on YouTube as well, which is something I'm going to address. So there are a few YouTubers that make an appearance. The main one, of course, is the wonderful Lordan Arts, John Lordan, who has covered the Elisa Lam case thoroughly, and has been recommended by me. Also got an appearance from that chapter as well, and Stephanie Harlow, for anybody who watches Stephanie. So that was basically really quite interesting to me to see how YouTube is crossing over into more popular culture, almost like we do more true crime than the TV. Yes, I love him as well, Margie. And part of the reason I love John Lordan is because of his factual case coverage. He's very sensible. He will theorize, but based on fact. And one of the things that he addresses in this documentary is that he was getting a little conspiracy theory with the Elisa Lam case, and many YouTubers were. We've seen this before with other cases, how things are stated as fact when they're not, and theories that aren't really supported by much. So that's a bit of a worry. So the fun part, well, not the fun part, but the good part about this, and why I believe if you haven't seen it, you should see it, is because it covers the more realistic story of Elisa Lam's tragic passing. And the feeling that I was left with more than anything else after watching the documentary was, well, the series, is actually sadness. And I'm going to tell you why when I explain sort of the likely story, the one that I always thought was the case for her, which is there was a couple of bits of huge misinformation that really set this case off track. The main one was that the hatch of the water tank she was found in was shut. This was not the case, and it was accidentally said in passing and became this huge thing that made it into a murder case. It wasn't. We also still don't know how Elisa Lam got up onto the roof. She either climbed up the fire escape or the door was open. The manager of the Cecil, Amy Price, she was the manager at the time. She also appears in the documentary. She's not wonderfully likable, but I believe she's spent a lot of years in customer service, so is used to putting a face on for the public, and is slightly defensive because she was manager of the hotel when Elisa died. So with that being the case, higher gathering place, with that being the case, she basically defends the fact that this door was left locked and there was an alarm. But to me, people have been up to visit and there were cigarette ends up there, cans of beer up there, things like this. So people have obviously been using the roof. It could be, and my theory is, and it's based on fact from being a smoker, is that hotel staff can't smoke out the front because they'll be seen in their uniforms, so they may have been smoking on the roof. Somebody might have left the door open. It's a simple mistake. Nobody would have thought that somebody who wasn't very well would have come through the door and gone into a water tank. So, you know, you're not thinking that when you're forgetting to lock a door. So, you know, things happen. Okay, so with that in mind, the cover Elisa's changes in behaviour in the days running up to her passing, and obviously the notorious elevator video footage, where if you haven't seen it, you probably have, where she's acting erratically in the lift. Now, it would appear she had bipolar. Well, she had bipolar. It would appear she had bipolar type 1. For somebody with bipolar type 1, a dip in medication can cause enormous problems, and it's believed that she had 10 tablets less, I think, than she should have had, which would imply she hadn't been taking her medication. The people who she was sharing a room with complained about her, and she had to be moved out of her room because she was leaving notes everywhere saying go away, things like that. And she was really worried. Like, she was obviously really anxious. And then you see this elevator footage of her. And so the hotel moved her into her own room out of the way. And that was the day before she was due to check out of the hotel, which is, of course, the day she went missing. If she hasn't taken her medication, bipolar can cause you to have psychosis, which means that Elisa could have been having hallucinations, you know, and might have been petrified of nothing at all. But of course, to her, it is entirely real. And the thing that I was left with, the reason I was left with sadness, was to think, what was this poor girl thinking, and what was she so frightened of that she climbed into a water tank and took her clothes off, maybe thinking there was something wrong with her clothes, and ended up not being able to get back out of the tank. And it was just so, for me, it was just so intensely tragic. Her death was always tragic, but to know that fear that she had, that was entirely real for those last couple of days and certainly few hours of our life, away from home, traveling away from home, many miles from Vancouver, without our family, and just because she wanted to see the world, and it all went terribly wrong. And that really left me very sad. I just really related to the fact that it's something can happen to somebody like that, and it's so sad, so very sad and all. That was what I was left with, but I was pleased that there was a reasonable explanation for our passing that was based on fact. Now, they do look into the conspiracy theories, such as the timestamp on the video not being shown. It could be because they didn't want people to know exactly when she was on the lift. It's been purported. This is quite likely. Not every case wants to give away all details if they think that somebody may be involved in a disappearance. So that's plausible. They can't get the records still, maybe because they don't want people rummaging into them. But there is a more pressing issue that I've thought that, we dealt with Elisa, but what we also dealt with was true crime on YouTube was a huge subject in this documentary. And one of the reasons for that was because of a false accusation of murder made based on very little information by a YouTuber that just spread like wildfire. Now, there is a performance artist named Morbid, and he stayed in the Cecil Hotel once, and he put a video up on YouTube to say that he'd been in the Cecil Hotel, that he'd stayed there. He is a performance artist that's into death metal. So he wears, masks and makeup that makes him look demon-esque, and sings about murder and chasing girls through the forest and kills them. And because he's a performance artist, such as the nature of death metal, it's odd and it's an acquired taste, but it is what it is. It's a performance, nothing more. And because he'd stayed in the Cecil Hotel and he was singing songs about murdering girls, somebody in that infinite wisdom decided that he had killed Elisa Lam. This news goes out onto the internet, spreads like wildfire. This poor man is hounded almost to death. And when I say almost to death, I am not exaggerating. This guy's just a musician, finds himself hounded. People are threatening to kill him, saying he's going to pay for what he's done. He's a murderer. The police came to his house to ask him if he was doing ritual sacrifices. As it turns out, yes, his job is his job. He's called Morbid. He sings songs about death. But when he stayed in the Cecil Hotel, it was a year before Elisa Lam died. Nobody checked this before they made this accusation. And there's a lot to be said for checking facts before you make an accusation on the internet. And I think that's something we could all learn a lot from. For me, it's different. I'm not a web sleuth. I have an interest in true crime and I talk about it. I prefer to deal with cases where I'll speak about ongoing cases, but I prefer to deal with the facts. We can speculate, but I would never directly accuse anybody of anything with such little proof. And that's where the danger comes. And this poor gentleman attempted to take his own life and woke up in a psychiatric hospital because of the hounding that he received because of this false accusation. This to me is a worry, because actually he's just a pretty normal guy, bit of a rocker, couple of piercings, beard, hair about the same length as mine. It's just actually quite a nice bloke, and obviously was devastated by what happened to him. So just because somebody wears funny makeup and sings songs about death, it doesn't make them a murderer. And there's a lot to be said about people's perceptions of physical appearance as well. So there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to take from that experience. On this platform, I have heard people make false allegations here, there, everywhere. One of the biggest victims of this is Nicole Kessinger, of course, who's been accused of doing all sorts of things. There are other people who've had the finger pointed at them. They did this because of this, because this clock said that at such and such a time. And it's just some bored person who's playing detectives, who has nowhere near the inclination or the intelligence to be a detective, who is just effectively embellishing and making things up and sensationalizing things for their YouTube channel to get views and subscribers and play the YouTube game. And it's irresponsible. And I would like to think that a lot of people will take, John Lordan has been very candid about his experience of this. He's made a video about what happened with Morbid. He has absolutely owned up to it, and this is why his reporting now is amazing. When it's all right to make mistakes, but we need to learn from those mistakes, and things need to get better. So he's a great example of that. So if you're not subscribed to him already, I would suggest you do it. He's amazing balls. So the way the director did it is he wanted the audience for the documentary to see Pablo, his name is, he's called Pablo Vergara, the performance artist who's named Morbid. They portrayed him in his show garb, and said he stayed at the Cecil, and the director wanted people to think that, see him like the people on YouTube saw him. However, for me, I was thinking, well, I'm sure if there'd been actually any viable suspects in the Elisa Lam case, I would have heard about it. So I kind of thought, well, no, it's a nonsense. So, oh, thank you, Evie. Yes, we learn from our mistakes. So that was basically the biggest thing for me, was the Morbid thing. And it was great to see Elisa's case covered in a factual way, and also drag in all the mystery of the Cecil, but not to the extent that it was too over exaggerated. Has a lot of death associated with it, but like I said, it's a hotel that's low budget, that's kind of run down, or was kind of run down, I don't know what it's like now, in the middle of Main Street. And they said about the suicide rate, yes, that is fact. The suicide rate appears high, but if you consider that suicide rates in hotels with casinos are quite high, there's a lot of casinos in the general area. If you look on maps, there are quite a few casinos. It's on the main strip, where there's a lot of homelessness, a lot of drug abuse, sex work and things going on. So, it's that kind of area where people will just pop in, and people go to hotels to take their own lives. It's just one of those things. And the Cecil has a fantastic opportunity for this, because it's just so damned high. It's a really high building. So if you jump, you're going to go. So, that's it. Yeah, Ilva, I worry about that as well. Can you imagine? And people wonder why she hasn't went public. Yes, you wouldn't, would you? After what she's been put through, I can only begin to imagine how she must feel. So yeah, we can learn from other people's mistakes too. Absolutely. Richard Ramirez did stay there. Yes, he did. I covered that in my previous video. He stayed there, and then another serial killer stayed there. He was a journalist who murdered prostitutes because he was a fan of Richard Ramirez. So it's locality. Yes, the journalist. Let me look up his name because I keep forgetting his darned name. It's in the other video that I made and I still can't remember it. Jack Unterweger. That's why I can't remember it, because it's a gobful. Thank you, Marchie. Thank you very much, sweetheart. That's the one. Thank you, Potter. Right, and go. There's a link if anybody wants to know anything more about him. Just the wiki link for now. It's a good place to start. So he stayed there as well, and he murdered a lot of people while he was there. So, you know, because he was fangirling on Richard Ramirez. People do forget about him probably because he's got such a tongue-twisting name. But for some reason, Ramirez had such a stark appearance and was so kind of, I don't know, he's kind of a weird cross, Richard Ramirez, between somebody who would be stunningly beautiful and somebody who looks incredibly evil. It's a really strange combo, because people talk about how handsome Ted Bundy was, and for me, Ted Bundy's distinctly average. I'd be like, and no biggie. A horror of how she's being hounded. Yeah, this is what we could learn from this experience. I grow tired of. There's nothing wrong with a good conspiracy theory. I like a good conspiracy theory. I even like the really silly ones, like that Bill Gates is going to monitor me through me COVID vaccine when I've got this thing in my hand most of the time that will tell everybody where I am. So, you know, silly things like that, 5G and lampposts, all sorts of weird crack. So, but I do find them interesting. But when it comes to conspiracy theories about real people and real death and real crimes, we can have a theory, but a conspiracy theory is another matter. In this documentary, they lay out how there was a cover-up by the hotel, there was a cover-up by the police. Now, for me, conspiracy, we all know people do dishonest things and people do conspire. That's why there's a word for it. Conspiracies like MK Ultra, for instance, have been proven in the past. However, some conspiracies require loads and loads of people. Yes, he is hot but incredibly creepy. I don't know how to feel about Richard Ramirez. Like, looking at him, he looks like he should be on the cover of Vogue, but also on a chair in a really hot room downstairs, if you catch me drift. I'm just up there. Would you imagine? Yeah, I don't think so either. Most of us wear Fitbits or some kind of smartwatch. Yes, exactly. That was where I was going. For a conspiracy to have so many people involved, the more people that are involved in a conspiracy, the less likely it is to occur. The less likely it is to be real. For COVID to have been started so that all of us can be injected with a chip, everybody in the world would have had to have been involved. All the major leaders, including Mr. Trump, who isn't exactly known for keeping quiet, and who would have had every reason to tell everybody everything. So hence, it makes the chances of conspiracy seem really, really tiny, weeny. Yes. The thing about books is, it's not like years ago when you could make lots of money on a book. No, you can't. Not on books. You don't get much from it. It depends. You've got to be really, really lucky. Loopy Lisa looks like someone was drawing a cartoon evil bad guy. Yes, it does, doesn't it? Oh, well, when you look at BTK, you know, and you think about how evil BTK was and the things that he did, and you look at him and he looks like a geography teacher. It really makes you wonder about geography teachers. No offense, I'm joking. That's a joke before I get complaints from geography teachers. You really don't want to have the vaccine. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. But please try not to worry, because for me, my reasoning is people are going, why was it made so fast? Why was it made so fast? The reason it was made so fast is because it was given the funding. Everybody threw all that funding at it. So people had money to do research, employ people. That's the magic. The real question we should maybe be asking is, why aren't all the other vaccines made? It's because they have to apply all the time for funding and beg and scratch and scrape. So, you know. So a chip that's bigger than the needle. Yeah, can you imagine? I saw a really strange conspiracy about COVID when somebody was getting the vaccine and obviously gave the vaccine and they pulled the syringe back. And somebody went, where did the needle go? The needle's still in her arm. That's what they're doing. They're implanting us with needles. And it's a retractable needle, dude. And this is an example of what happens with true crime on YouTube. People see things. They don't understand what they're seeing. They assume it to be something else. And from there, a conspiracy theory is born. They are fine. Good. I'm glad they had them. You've got your vaccine on Wednesday. Brilliant. Brilliant. There's also been sort of all sorts of claims like everybody died of COVID, everybody was marked of COVID, because there had to be, because if they had COVID when they passed away, there had to be a COVID-related death, because when the pandemic first starts, we don't know who has it and who doesn't. So, you know, we don't know how it affects the body. So we don't know if the people that are passing away have been impacted by that. So yes, you've got your vaccine on Wednesday. So you'll be getting a little prick. Oh dear. So tonight, because it's Freaky Friday, you know what the score is tonight. You've kind of got a night's entertainment on the cards, because Tiger, or Tiggs, White Tiger Unplugged, goes live. Look at them e-liquids behind me, little pile of e-liquids. I've got like it's like a little e-liquid bottle graveyard I've got there. And that, the black thing on that side, that's a Bertie Bassett without his clothes on. It is, because I like to store stuff. True Crime Creator, hello, hi everyone, nice to listen. We're working over here in the USA. I've watched Tigers a couple of lives and listened to many of you speak. Great to see you here. Yes, we have Keely was in Tigers live as well, saying a bit about She Who Shall Not Be Named. So I'm trying to keep that. All that. Go away. Horrible woman. Right. So I think that's enough. But what we're going to do is Tiger is going live at midnight UK time. So this is where I look at Tiggs and go, Tiggs, what time is that? 9, 10, 11, 12, 3 hours from now. Okay, 3 hours from now. I hope you found what I had to say about the documentary interesting. Please leave your comments down below. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, please watch it. It's interesting and it's really good. And it means that, you know, at least the true story, like the documentary about the Watts case, the real story is out there. For Elisa, this is as close as a real story as she'll get. And again, my heart goes out to her family. I can only begin to imagine how they must be feeling to have gone through all that and now have this all over again. And to know that their daughter was on her own like that, you know, bless their hearts. I just, it's a horrible thing about, but at least now the realization that Elisa wasn't well, something bad happened because of that, and that's not her fault at all, not even in the least. And she would have been scared, but she's now at peace, and the world won't ever forget her. And let's hope that there's things that can be learned from the tragedy that happened to her when it comes to making presumptions about crimes with very little evidence and spreading it all over the internet, and for making false accusations in real life as well, and also for maybe not paying attention to people who aren't very well when they may need our help. We do need better mental health. Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on this Vicky Friday. I will be back on Snooper Sunday when I will be discussing things. It's been wonderful to spend some time with you. You're a really lovely crowd. I always appreciate you coming in. Please do join Tiger at the stroke of midnight. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Freaky Friday. Thank you very much to my mods. I love you. Mwah. Members, big hugs. I hope you enjoyed your little preview of something I'm working on earlier that I've posted. And I wish you well. Much love. Stay wonderful. And I will catch you in the next one. And you know what this means? Are you ready to headbang? Are you ready? Bye-bye for now. Mwah.